Well, thanks for joining us for the segment. And on AM Talk, of course, we have to begin with the by-election that is taking place in Amary West in the Western region. It was an NDC held seat, but the Member of Parliament had to pass on, and as constitutionally as required, we needed to make sure that we convened a by-election to elect whoever. Indeed, over the last couple of days, saw the stalwarts of both the MPP and NDC and the other political parties had ramped up the streets and the various nooks and crannies of Amary West constituency to make sure that they got their messages to the listening ears of the various voters. But Benjamin Peters is our correspondent on the ground, and we would want to get a lot more from him. Benjamin, from the areas that you've already been visiting in terms of the polling areas, did voting start early, or what are some of the notable issues you would want to report to us?
Yeah, Roland, so far I've visited two centers. That is the Asenkragua Secondary Technical School, where 886 eligible voters are expected to take part in the voting today. And as I speak to you now, about 18 people have voted so far. I also went to the Catholic Secretariat, where 24 people have also cast their ballot. The only issue that has been identified by one of the presiding members I spoke to is that the card that they are using to vote, that is voter ID card, and in petition, so that the voter has to vote according to the number that is on the card. But unfortunately, some people are not aware of this issue, so they go to some polling stations where they are not supposed to cast their ballot there. And the electoral officers here are having a tough time directing these people to go to their right stations where they are supposed to vote. And one of them complained to me that today is a market day, so most of the voters are in a rush to come and cast their ballot. And if they are turned away in such a manner, maybe it will affect the turnout of voting here. So that is the only issue that has been identified so far here, Roland.
And prior to now, we saw that all the topmost political parties made their presence felt, putting together a lot more community visitations and rallies, etc., to climax the activities as far as their campaigns were. For the Electoral Commission, did they have everything in place in terms of the ballot boxes, the security measures that also needed to be in place before the voting started today?
Of course. The various electoral materials were dispatched to the various centers yesterday. I witnessed that they were dispatched to the various centers yesterday. Of course, security is also tight in the area, and everything has started in earnest. The only problem that was identified so far was what I spoke about. So everything is in place as I speak to you.
Can you take us through the numbers as far as the voter population for the constituency and the turnout for the last election, etc., if you have those numbers?
About 52,364 eligible voters are expected to take part in this by-election at the 102 polling stations. That is the figure I have currently, Roland.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll ourselves will be doing a lot more of the analysis in the studio, and I have to, well, straight away make sure that I'm able to give you my guest for the morning. I have Kennedy Osei Nyakum, and he's here, Member of Parliament for Achim Swedru, and thanks for joining me this morning. I love your tie.
Thank you.
If you're going, please remove it and leave it behind.
Sure.
Or you buy me another one. But that's just by the side, though. And thanks for joining me, sir. All right. And also, we have also here with us Kwame Agbuja, Member of Parliament for Adaklu. And thanks for joining me, Kwame.
Thank you very much.
All right. It's a privilege. Your party,
yeah,
they've all gone there.
Yeah.
His party as well. What do you say about the Amary West by-election?
First of all, it's, I feel sad we lost my good friend, very gentle guy, and we laid him to rest over the weekend. And by our constitution, we're supposed to conduct a by-election, which is taking place today. I'm just happy that from so far, what I've heard from the EC, the police, everybody says that the conduct of the campaign and everything has gone on in a very civil way. We hope that that translates into the voting process and the declaration, so that we can have peace there for the people to decide who they want to lead them. I'm very confident NDC would win comfortably there.
You say comfortably? Almost like it's a self-assured, rest assured.
Well, first of all, let me say a very good morning to your cherished viewers. Well, my brother, you know where he's coming from. I mean, knowingly the seat too belonging to them. I mean, you expect him to be bold and say that they are going to win the seat. But in elections, especially by elections like this, it's not about who is going to win, but it gives, I mean, the various campaign strategies to assess and analyze the situation, especially when we have just a year to go for a general election. So this is an opportunity for both two parties to sit back and analyze. It's not about, I mean, who will carry, I mean, the seat at the end of the day, but the lessons that they will learn from today's election. I mean, there are so many issues, areas that I'm sure the various political parties are going to look out for. I mean, they are going to look at the tenor. They are going to look at in terms of even the EC people, the returning officers, how they will conduct themselves. I mean, even the political party, their agents that will man the place. I mean, these are the things they are going to, I mean, the performance and how things they will organize themselves. So I have a firm belief that if everything goes on well today smoothly, Ghana will be the winner at the end of the day. Whoever wins, I mean, I know he's going to win peacefully without any violence. That is what I'm looking at. I don't want us to witness what we have been witnessing in the past when it comes to by-elections. I mean, there are some by-elections that have gone, and recently even the Telensi one, you see how violently people were trying to visit mayhem and others, mayhem on others. And I think it's a lesson for us to know that elections are not the end of the world. I mean, you go, either you win or you lose. Okay. And I have a firm belief that my party is going to do excellent today.
I'm talking about what will be excellent and how well the MPP thinks that it's going to cut or reduce the votes of the NDC in Amenfi West. Nana Dankwe Kufuado, who was in the constituency back over the weekend, has assured the people of Amenfi West and the entire Ghanaian populace that the change from severe economic hardship being experienced under the John Mahama-led administration is coming to Ghana in 2016. And according to him, there's going to be a sustained and successful attack on poverty under his government. And he was addressing the youth at a packed town hall in Asankregwa. Nana Akufo-Addo acknowledged that many Ghanaians, considering the current state of the nation, appear to have lost hope in the ability of Ghana to offer a decent living to its citizens. He believes that when his government is elected, that will be the due for the average Ghanaian. Now, let's go on to a lot more also substantive matters. The MPP, they convened a press conference on Monday, and they put a lot more pressure on Parliament to make sure that they investigated what currently is circulating in the Ghanaian media following an investigation by two journalists of a Norwegian newspaper that also has been circulated widely on the internet about a deal involving a multi-billion dollar or multi-million dollar power agreement between the government of Ghana and AMERI Group. And according to that very investigation, something was not right, because some leading figures within the entity AMERI had questionable characters, because notably at least one was being investigated for fraud and other claims by the Norwegian security agencies as well as Interpol. Well, that has sent tongues wagging in our country, but also raising concerns from a lot more critics of government. And we'll be touching on this very subject. We're talking about the AMERI deal, and I have to start with you. Your party convened the press conference.
Yes. Richard.
My name is Roland.
Roland, sorry. Yesterday I had the opportunity to discuss about this issue extensively with some of my colleagues on the Energy Committee, and I also had the time to peruse some of the documents, the contracts and other things. What I can say is that this contract really stinks. It stinks. I mean, it is riddled with a lot of, suspicious issues. Because if you look at even how the contract itself got into Parliament, you raise a lot of issues about it.
How did the contract get into Parliament?
On the 26th of February, when the President was in the House to deliver his State of the Nation address, he made it categorically in his speech that, the government is almost done in signing whatever agreement with some notable, energy companies to assist the country in putting up some power generating plant in solving our energy problem. And one was APR, one was GE. Okay, you ask yourself, APR, who are they? APR were made to understand that they were the people who were going to provide this energy generating plants, and they were to provide 250 even megawatts. APR is an American company based in Florida. Okay? And that is what the government, and the President came to tell the whole Ghana. But what we have, few days after, when the contract or the report of the comic was rushed into Parliament, at the dying embers when Parliament was about to go on recess in March 20th, they brought in an agreement between Amary Energy and the government of Ghana. And you ask yourself, how did Amary came in? Because Amary is not the same as APR. Amary is different company. But you see, if you have taken my time to check the background of this Amary company, it will surprise you. Amary, I can tell you, is a dummy company. And I'm suggesting to you, that is a phantom company put together, rushed to put together by some, some unscrupulous people to come and swindle this country. If you check their website, even the website was hurriedly put together for just 2 months before this contract came in. I've had the opportunity to just check thoroughly about. You see, the thing, whoever brought this whole deal was very crafty, because if you trace the line, you could see how.
Are you purporting or alleging that the Parliament of the Republic may have been hoodwinked into?
Because
this very deal may have been smuggled to the unsuspicious eye of the normal member of Parliament, and even whoever the members were of the Mines and Energy Committee.
Well, you can put it that way.
No, I'm not putting it that way. I'm asking you a question.
Well, I would say...
Is that what you're suggesting?
You see?
Because you're not being categorical. You're being speculative, but almost saying nothing, really.
I'm not being speculative. I'm just telling the truth from my own perspective. I have perused every document. You see, with members... Kwame is sitting here. Ask him whether he had opportunity to even see details of that contract. It was virtually... How can you rush a contract worth 510 million just within 6 minutes? We are done. And you see, it is not particular to this contract alone, several contracts.
Is it unusual over the period that we've had our parliamentary democracy in the Fourth Republic? I'm not saying it is right. I'm asking, is it unusual?
Though I have not, this is my first time being in parliament, so I cannot speak. I'm just speaking on what I've witnessed as a member of parliament.
For your term?
Yeah, for my term. But as to whether it has happened, we have to condemn it as Ghanaians. And that has been the practice. I have had the opportunity to ask some senior people. Is that the way things are being run in this house? And it's like virtually this issue, or this practice have been going on.
But where they rush contracts?
The rush contract.
Serious contract.
Serious contract. It doesn't give members opportunity to even scrutinize the whole document.
You're thinking if the contract was brought before, after the subcommittee had looked at it, if it was brought before the committee of the whole, you would have looked at it adequately. Before the plenary, you would have looked at it adequately if you're given the due time.
Yes. Even at the committee level, most of my colleagues, and especially William Oreku Edu, who is a member
of the committee
from the minorities, spoke against this contract. He spoke vehemently.
What did he say? If he said he spoke against it.
This contract is the cost is too expensive.
He said it?
He said it on the committee level. But you see, on our committee, when we meet on committee level, some of these issues are not being, instead of them to capture everything and come and report to Parliament, at the end of the day, is what the majority on the committee will say is what they are going to carry and bring it to the Premier League.
If you are saying majority, you don't seem to think that the majority side of the court. You mean what the consensus is?
Yes, the consensus is. So the minority voice sometimes don't matter.
Yeah, no, I want you to put the thing in perspective, because committee is a committee, and I've reported in Parliament.
You see, we have minority.
Extensively for years. And sometimes you have agreement at the committee level. There's a bipartisan approach and discussion on it, and so sometimes you have a consensus which may be the majority consensus, okay, and there could be some dissenting voices in the minority, but we're not talking about partisan minorities. Is that not what you're talking about?
No,
you're talking about the minority, MPP minority on the committee.
Yes, and Edu was the one who was speaking vehemently against this contract. That yes, one, we are looking at the cost involved, too expensive. We could have gotten the same plant if Ghana is really serious and want to acquire the plant on its own.
He said it?
He said it. And he has been captured on radio. I heard even your sister station, Joy FM, playing it this morning. You can request for the tape.
Well, I heard him speaking to Asampa yesterday, though.
Okay. He spoke about it. That yes. And the time they've given to even members was too short. Most of them on the committee are not lawyers. And this is a contract which is, it involves a lot of legality. So give ample time for them to.
You're not saying that before you become a member of parliament you should be a lawyer. But he's a lawyer, though. But at the end of the day.
No, he's not a lawyer.
Aren't you a lawyer?
I'm an architect.
Oh, you're an architect.
He's a project. He's a project
management person.
I also have a project background. So when you are doing a project, we all know there are so many issues that they have raised on this matter, which I think it smacks of something
that you don't understand. But at the end of the day, is the fact that a document as important as this very agreement came before the House. It seemed to have gone through the processes all right. As far as him saying there's some reaction, things were raised, you don't really get what the consensus was at the end. The consensus was that it was passed. With the concern that has been raised following this very investigation by the Norwegian newspaper, what would you say? Would you conclude that Parliament didn't do a good job, may have done a shoddy job as far as looking at this very contract?
My colleague has mentioned a lot of things. I wish I have time to take them one after one. First of all,
I'll give you 5 minutes.
I need to...
Even though I give him 10 minutes, I'll give you 5.
Oh, you give me 10, you give me 5?
Yeah, sure.
Why?
I don't have time now.
Well, first of all, I need to congratulate Joy FM this morning. You carried a story last time about, how do you call it, part one of Melcom building going to collapse. This morning you turn around to say that actually the cracks you saw were expansion joints. The next time I will say that when you see something in a field which is technical, get a structural engineer so that you don't put yourself in
because
that
you're a technical person.
yeah, very awkward, because I don't understand how an expansion joint can be likened to be a structural failure. In that same vein, I will urge the editor of that Norwegian newspaper to come out boldly and just retract, because don't forget, this newspaper was used by one Ghanaian journalist some time ago to say that President Rawlings have stashed a lot of money away in some European council. Yes, and then the journalist.
Is it the same newspaper?
Yes. So they are not unusually.
So you're okay. All you're saying is that
their credibility should be
whatever is reported by the press. Yes. It's not necessarily held in sacrosanct.
Let me go quickly. You see, first of all, my colleague should understand committee work is not reported in the public. So if he says that he's got a recording of our colleague having a dissenting voice, that doesn't actually exist, because in committee work.
He has a record, but I think he was talking about media.
It would have been unparliamentary.
No, it's
for
media. His reaction in the media.
First of all, secondly, you see, it's not unusual for NPP to go on to that phantom route. Not too far long time ago, when we passed the Katsua interchange, they cajoled Nana Akufo-Addo to go on a route to say that the contract was inflated. In fact, I am a vice chairman of the Road and Transport Committee. When we went through the figures, it turns out that project is an extremely good value for money, because we're not only building roads, we're building hospitals, a market, a car park, and other things. And then when it was thrown back into their face, they don't want to talk about it again. This is another thing. My brother is saying that, who is AMERI Group? My brother, if he says he knows about project, you can form a company today to execute a job.
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow. It is called, exactly. It is called, sometimes it's called SPV.
I was telling, I guess, yesterday.
Yeah, SPV is a special purpose vehicle. So you can have a legal entity. He can also have an illegal entity. Maybe he's a financier. You are the technical person. I become the SPV. The third person becomes the SPV. He brings his money. You bring your technical know-how. We form a company to execute something. So if NPP people can't get enough people to educate them on these things, I'm afraid how they're going to run this country. It's nothing dodgy, it's nothing fraudulent. It happens every day, and I've executed a lot of projects here and abroad under SPVs, where entities come together to form that. Let me tell you this thing. We are on course to deliver what we have promised Ghanaians. That is to make sure that the power situation eases. And I am sure for some days now, hopefully it's easing. For them to come on board, for us to do this thing together, all they need to do is to throw in the spanner and once again go onto the tangent of speculating and lying about things. They don't have any iota of truth in whatever they are saying. The Norwegian newspaper, the reporter is not even an energy expert. He is working for a group of somebody who lost on the beat to do this job, and it happens. It happens abroad. It happens everywhere. A sour grip. And unfortunately, when the guy was interviewed yesterday, believe me, sometimes I think that we are a developing country. Myself and journalists included needed to learn. But listening to that journalist yesterday, Ghanaian journalists are a million miles away in terms of knowledge and presentation. That guy is just a dummy. Can't even articulate what even he wrote in the newspaper. When he was being questioned about
He's a Norwegian. His first language is not English.
It wasn't about the language. It's about articulation. He can't just make even his own write-up. He can't even talk about it. That shows you how low. And he's been bought.
Well, somebody say it's good for you to just go about condemning whatever.
He's a rented press by an MPP, obviously, to do this. But the thing is that the facts will remain. And I'm saying that there's nothing wrong. Look, we've had a situation in this country when Flagstaff House, for instance, came to Parliament. When they wanted it, they told us it was $36 million. When the cost keep going up, when Mr. Kwame Pianim came to Parliament, when parliamentarians asked him, how much will this cost? He said, I am not a technical person, I don't know the cost. And see, all these figures that put forward with
and later the cost increase. I do understand.
In fact, till today, we don't even know.
Now let's look at the substantive, Mr. Agboja. Yeah. At the end of the day, are critical issues that have been raised in the newspaper reports. Yeah. The point is, for example, now I'll just be reading the statement of the power minister. Yeah. Okay, and he says. The issue of diligence that was not done or was done. The government of Ghana has not entered into any agreement with the individual who, that I'm sure Kennedy Osei-Nyako is also referring to, Umar Farouk Sahor. Yeah. The government of Ghana entered into the agreement with AMERI Energy. Yeah. Okay. The chairman of AMERI Energy is Sheikh Mohammed Al Maktoum, who signed the agreement for his firm. Yeah. Umar Farouk signed as a witness for him. Yeah. He says the Bank of Ghana, before establishing the Standby LLC, conducted its own due diligence. And these are the following. The American firm, JP Morgan, they also did an independent check on it. And the government of Ghana, represented by the Ministry of Power and the Attorney General, they also did their own. And then Parliament, upon receipt, also scrutinized the document. But here is an important issue. The committee may have looked at it adequately, but what about the plenary of the Committee of the Whole?
Yeah, well, first of all, let me ask, you see, K.T. Hammond, Honorable K.T. Hammond, is being investigated by IOCO, right? Does that make him incapable of representing his people? If they are suggesting that, for instance, if we come out of this building and the police accost me and say that I'm being investigated for something, does that make me incapable of carrying out my duties? You see, it is just a way of trying to pretend that there's something dodgy about it. And when it was shown to them that the man they are alleging to be the main man, witness, my brother, you can witness anything for me. I can give you a document to witness today, provided you are comfortable with it. So that has fallen flat. When it comes to Parliament, as a rule of thumb, when all things are done by the various agencies through cabinet and the respective ministry, and it comes to Parliament, it goes to the committee, the relevant committee. I am sure if this thing were to be something that NPP didn't like, I don't know anybody who is much more aggressive towards this matter on the Energy Committee than K.T. Hammond. K.T. Hammond would have been on top of the roof talking about it. I saw him. I was in Parliament. I mean, supporting this report from their committee. The question is,
formally,
exactly,
he has not sounded that way. He said that, well, as far as
to get the hands out on the 20th official report and read it. What
members of Parliament
actually said.
The members of Parliament are very independent in some ways. If the opposition, if K.T. Hammond firmly believes that this deal was not good enough, nothing can compel him to be party to it. And nobody can stop him, not even the president.
Because he's a man of character.
Exactly.
Okay.
So the fact that he came and supported the motion tells me that there is nothing wrong with it. Otherwise, he should come and say that.
Let me run this by you. Yeah. I know that for all the things that you feel perhaps may be or are being raised, which to you may be unconscionable, there are issues like, for example, if I witness a deal for whoever the director or the chairman or the president of AMERI group is, and I have a questionable character, a character that could be traced even to Norway and my underhand dealings and perceived fraud in the financial sector, I should be deeply worried if my mind is referred to it.
So that's why I give you an example. IOCO is investigating K.T. Hammond for wrongly selling a drill ship in Ghana. Does that mean that he's not capable of doing his work?
Does that mean that he's guilty?
Oh, exactly. So what if K.T. Hammond is capable of doing his job, even though he's been investigated by the highest one big organization in Ghana called IOCO? How come that the so-called guy Farouk is that one? Has he been confirmed? Is he jailed? He's just been investigated. Would that take away the fact that we want to build a thermal plant and solve Ghana's energy problem? To me, that is the most important thing.
Well, I know you want to add something to it, but in the statement also, the Ministry of Power is explaining that in the story it's been quoted that each of the turbines, the combined turbines of 10 will be costing $220 million US. But indeed, the sum total of the whole agreement is 500 and something of the sort. Now, it must also be explained, and this is that the quota price of 220 million Norwegian dollars, as quoted in Norwegian story, for outright purchase of similar turbines. It's exclusive of all the other costs such as auxiliaries, and also balance of plants, the civil works, the substations, the installation of equipment, cost of financing, operation, and maintenance, and the other things that are attached to it, building structures and things. For me, I mean, as a layperson, it makes sense if that is it. But I don't know whether all those things can sum up to the extra 200 or almost 300 million.
You see how my colleague here is, struggling hard to justify this murky, deal. He's trying so hard. But if he doesn't know, as I'm speaking now, FBI is investigating this issue because there are 2 American companies involved in that. Let's wait, sit down and see what happens at the
You
end
have
of the
friends
day.
in the FBI too?
I'm just giving you a hint, if he's not aware.
That's
But
what I'm
you
asking,
see,
whether you have friends in the FBI.
let's go to the, let's deal with the substance of the matter. You ask, when the minister appeared before the committee, when the issue of the cost was raised, the minister said it is going to cost the country $411 million in buying it outright. Today, he comes back to say that it was going to cost the country 220 if we had decided to buy it outright. So what was the minister thinking by then? Why did the minister, give a false issue to the committee? It's in the contract. I wish I could have retrieved it. Yes, it's on my phone. I wish I could have done the document he presented. When you read it, that he said it was going to cost the country $411 million if we decide to buy it outright. On the document he presented, it's there. You can get it if you can get it and read it for yourself. Okay? At the same time, he knew that we could have bought it. The question that when he was asked what amounted to the 411, he said he will provide an appendix G, which gives details of other costs which sums up to the 411. Where is appendix G?
It was not.
Do you have the appendix G? He's a member of parliament. Ask him whether he has the appendix G.
Was the committee finished with that?
Well, the committee said he was going to furnish the appendix G. As whether he came to the committee, I am not a member of the committee, and I was not also given the opportunity.
You're not a member of the committee, and you are speculating.
I'm just speaking on the information that as I have as a member of parliament, on what has been delivered to us on the floor of parliament. Not at the committee level, but I'm just giving because I had the opportunity to speak to other committee members. But you see, let me conclude. Let me finish with my submission. You come.
Okay.
After Amary taking the contract, decided to give the contract to Metka, a Greek company.
But there's nothing wrong with that.
No, I'm not saying there's something wrong. But you see, if Ghana knew that we could go to Metka and get the same deal for 350 million.
Why didn't we go directly?
Why didn't go directly and use AMERI? Who is behind AMERI? What interest that the person?
So you're saying we could have directly dealt with
Yes, with them because they are going to supply the turbines and manage it, do installation. They are doing everything.
Let me ask him.
It makes a lot of sense.
Let me ask him.
And they will not allow us.
Recently, we heard in the newspaper that they borrowed some money from a bank. And then the sharing of the NPP. They borrowed some money from the bank, and then the sharing of the money became a problem. Of course, they paid an interest on the money. Why couldn't they just put that money forward from themselves? They went to the bank because they didn't have it. The point I'm trying to make is this. In putting a project proposal and implementation plan together, all sorts of things go on. If you want to put up a turbine, a gas turbine, and you don't have the money, then you need to ask yourself, where will I get the money to buy it? So there's a cost to a capital that you use on any. No. I didn't intervene.
But you see, you've raised the point which you are the first be of interest to Ghanaians to know.
You are the first person.
If you have a sovereign nation like Ghana cannot raise an amount of 220, then we are sick as a country.
My brother.
That's okay.
My brother.
Continue with the argument.
Let me tell him, almost everything, including Flagstaff House, which cost as of that time $36 million that they said they have to go to India to borrow the money. At the end of the day, the $36 million cost Ghana almost $100 million. So see who is sitting here saying that Ghana couldn't raise $200 million. Indeed, the energy plants are capital intensive. All I want to say is this. The Norwegian newspaper is not credible. They are a rented press by the NPP. They've used them before to try to throw mud at President Rawlings, and he failed. And I'm telling you, another example is that Nana Akufo-Addo was cajoled to pretend that Kaswa Interchange was riddled with corruption. When we went through the figures, nothing of a sort happened. And indeed, there are members on the committee who are experienced civil engineers, can attest to that in private, but in public, they can't do it. And I'm saying that this is another phantom fraud that they are talking about. Instead of them dealing with the fraud in their party, which is breaking them apart,
which is people alleging that
this
people
has got nothing to do with that.
I'm saying that
it's okay. Now, but we have to move on to the next issue. But let's clarify this. It is not fair for you to say that the Norwegian newspaper is a rented press of the NPP.
It is.
But at the end of the day, you may have issues with the content of the report.
Yes.
Of course, it's subject to some verification because we need to validate or corroborate whatever it is that the content of the report says. But the truth is, they've raised serious mind-boggling issues to the ordinary man, and that is why it's gaining the media attention that it's gaining. Unless perhaps you don't want to acknowledge.
No, like what? Like what? But like suggesting that having an SPV to execute a job is fraud.
Nobody is
he raised it that the company was formed. Yes, and I want to tell him that you can form a company today to execute a job.
Gentlemen,
tomorrow.
Can I change the subject?
Go on.
Okay.